Look at this picture. What's wrong with it? What do you see in this picture that is just completely wrong? If your answer was, what am I looking at? Then you are so lost. I don't know how you've made it this far. The answer for you oblivious people is this ramp right here. Yes, this is a ramp. This is an aerial shot of an architecture project. And this is a ramp that breaks a humongous sin in architecture, which is to make people walk more than they have to. Now, here's the same ramp in a perspective shot. You can see that it does this little turn thing and it leads you to the front of the house. When you look at this, it's just completely confusing as to why they chose to do that instead of just having the person make a turn and walk over. And I know the answer. The answer is that they wanted to create an artistic representation of the envelope, right? This exterior element wrapping, becoming wall, then becoming overhead roof or ceiling, and then going back to wall, and then becoming the floor. And it is so beautiful. It really is. It's like this thing is unwrapping itself, but it's just not functional because you would never ever do that. Like if you own this house or if you are at this house, you might use that ramp one time and then you might use it more times if you're a skater, because this is actually such a sick jump right here that you can open these doors here and then just jump over and land that. Like I'd be trying to hit that up all the time, but you wouldn't walk this thing. It's just crazy. And for those of you thinking, oh, this is so great because they're doing this for ADA so that a person that's in a wheelchair can access the space. Oh my God, you might be onto something. Except that that ramp leads to this. It leads to stairs. So what are you talking about? There's no ADA here. So just like that, you can give me this house for $1 and I would not take it. You can pay me to live here and I would not do it because of that. As I know a lot of you smart people watching this video would also turn down. Now, because of that, let's just take some other spaces in this house that just don't make any sense and just let's tear it apart. Now, I keep saying house, and that's so dumb of me because this is not even a house. What this is, it's a resort. So it's basically, think of like an Airbnb basically. It's modeled after a house, but it's actually a place that you rent and you stay at. So here is just another shot of this project, and you can see they didn't even bother finishing the driveway. There was just no interest to finish this project. They just did not care about anything. And then if you take a peek here, we're going to get to that, okay? This is just a giant disaster. Here's another shot. Look at the sky. It's so beautiful. The location is so amazing. And then you have all this man-made structure just blocking all of that. This is the same aerial image, but some clever guy at the office decided it would be really cool to add some white lines to show the topography and then add some information and text. And I gotta say, that was actually a beautiful way to show this because I love this. This is such a nice graphic. Now, inside of this resort, you have nothing going on that's too crazy. Everything looks nice and crisp and organized, and I love that. And they decided to make the focal point this unfinished driveway. They didn't even want to cover it up with any sort of vegetation or anything. You're just forced to sit here and just stare at that unfinished driveway and the nature that's blocked by the structure that they decided to add there. Here's one of the bathrooms where it probably would have made sense to have the material be an extension of the exterior, so the color palette should have been darker, or perhaps, you're bringing this in. But no, they decided to completely contrast everything in a way that I just don't think makes any sense. And they got lazy and used the tiles for the walls as a floor, and it's just a complete disaster. In one of the rooms, you have all this glass, so there's no sense of privacy, but there seems to be a hidden rail here, so I'm sure that there's some curtains that you can pull out and cover yourself from, but there's no TV. Imagine staying at a place where there's no TV. You're just surrounded by nature. That's just, that's atrocious. As a matter of fact, you won't find a TV anywhere in this spot. I'm not a big fan of fireplaces. Where I live, we don't need them. It'd be a massacre to use these. But I will say this is a super cool one, and I like how they placed it in the middle of the living room. It just makes it look so cool. I don't know. I also gotta take my hat off to them organizing these lights in these rows. It seems like such a simple thing to do, but it doesn't always happen. Anytime you walk around other projects, start noticing like the ceilings, they're usually cluttered with a bunch of crap and we just tend to ignore them. So the fact that they took some time to just organize all the lights and whatever elements else are there, this is just great detailing on their part. And then these I don't even know what these are called, these windows here. I'm just going to call them anti-clerestory windows because I have no idea what these are. I've seen them 1,000 times. I don't know what they're formally called. Cool detail here. And then if you're wondering what this is, that's probably the air conditioning. And if you're wondering why it's not on the ceiling, it's because when we look at the project from outside, there's no drop ceiling apparently. This is just structural up there, and therefore there's nowhere to run any vents or anything. So they're running everything below the building. Now I gotta say, this kitchen is horrendous. They did a unique move right here, which is to combine the kitchen island and the dining table as one. Then they decided to offset this sink and place this annoying divider. I hate these dividers so much. That is a personal opinion. I prefer having the whole entire thing open, or at least making the center thing removable, because what ends up happening is that you clutter one side, and then when you have like to wash the big things, it's just a pain. And but whatever. The point is, this is the most awkward kitchen design that I've ever seen. I just don't understand what they were thinking. They don't want to have a dining table, so they combined everything. Sure, that's fine, but it feels like this is an afterthought, and I'm just not going to stand for this, honestly. If I had to wash cups and plates here, I would just tell all my guests to forget about that, and I would instead buy disposable cups and plates. And if someone has a problem with that, then they can wash it themselves. And then we're getting closer to this detail right here, which is an exposed tub. This tub is probably the most beautiful and scary thing that I've ever seen architecturally speaking. It's beautiful because you look at this and you want to take a bath here. It's also scary because if you're taking a bath in the middle of the night, then you might get abducted by aliens, or you might get touched by some weird creature out in the woods. So I don't honestly know how I feel about this. I do think it's such a beautiful expression, and I do appreciate the innovation. Why do tubs have to be inside? Why don't we just stick them outside of the bedroom? And of course, this is more for the experience. I'm sure there's a bathroom inside. Actually, there's a floor plan. Let's go ahead and look. So here it is. As you can see, the bedroom. There's the infamous tub, and you do have a bathroom, so you don't have to use that if you don't want to. This becomes basically like the pool, because as you can see, there is no pool in this property. So while your friends are over here, I assume that you are the one that rented out or that planned this trip. So your friends are over here sweating to death in this pit while you are in the hot tub just soaking in the views across of this driveway. I'm sure you're going to be the very popular friend after this trip. So we're looking at these anti-clerestory windows again. I thought that this part of the project was actually raised. That's another part of the project. Here, I just don't see any use to these whatsoever. I'm hoping that there's more nature here, and what they decided to do is just block that off. Focus on our driveway, and whatever's there, forget about that. We want you to focus on the floor here. So floor on both sides is the focal point of this project, and that's very interesting. Here makes a lot more sense because it's semi-raised and there's actual vegetation there that you can look at. So if you had like a nice flower bush or something, that would be pretty cool. All the money that went into this project, and they couldn't hide this pipe. I'm telling you, this is all just very appalling. The graphics, like I mentioned, are pretty on point, some of them, because then they did this here, which looks like it was done on Photopea, which is the free version of Photoshop that's web-based. Why do I think they did it on Photopea? I don't know. It just looks like it's missing some quality. And then something, these are the other ones. They don't look that great. No big deal. They use Slenderman as figurines, and, they call this out as a carport, but they didn't place cars. They placed automobiles. I don't know about you, but this graphic right here, that's not a car. That's an automobile. So here we are at one of the bedrooms. That's making me feel like the rope in Tug of War, because you look at it, it's beautiful. You look at this rail and you're like, what the hell is this? And then you realize that this is a sliding door, so you can open that up, and that rail is to protect us because a lot of us are not bright enough, so we'll fall to our death three feet down. And so that's protecting us. And so then you're like, wow, this opens up into nature. This is beautiful. And then you remember that you're surrounded by trees, which probably brings mosquitoes and gnats and other animals. And then you're horrified again. So it's just this roller coaster of emotion that this resort brings you to. And then they place this chair, which is looking like the most uncomfortable chair that I've ever seen. And the bathroom has the rail too, which I think is the coolest thing ever because you can shower with everything wide open. So it's just a mixed bag of emotions that I'm experiencing looking at this. So now that the roast is over, I gotta tell you, this is one of the most beautiful projects that I've seen in a long time. I think there's a lot of really cool moments and really cool experiences, and I would honestly love to spend a few nights here. I just think it's such a neat little project, even though I was, roasting it. It was more for the laughs, I wasn't 100% serious about all this stuff. It really is nice, and I think that overall, it's a nice little package deal. That ramp, still hurts me, but I guess you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Guys, it's not the end of the world. Nothing is at stake here. It's just architecture. We're just having a little bit of fun. That's it.